Listen up. The views, thoughts, and opinions expressed in this podcast belong solely to the podcast participants, and not to any participant's employer, organization, committee, or other group or individual. This podcast is for entertainment purposes only. You know, for fun. For fun. So lighten up and enjoy. Enjoy it. Stomping Jen.
Apparently we were not on
mute. Enjoy it. We were not on mute. That all got recorded.
Nice.
Episode 87.
Can you believe it? Oh my God. 87
I cannot believe
episodes.
It. Only 13 left till we quit. I'm so excited.
Oh no.
But I'm not as excited for quitting as I am for our guest this evening, returning to the Soft Serve podcast, is poet and musician Joshua Michael Stewart.
Ta-da!
Longtime listeners of the show will know him as the composer of the Shivering Jim song, the Social Distance Rag. We'll be playing samples of all of that. And we're going to talk to him about poetry. He's working on a book. He's got a piece published.
A whole bunch of pieces published.
He's just up to a whole bunch of shit. So get ready. Hold on to your hats. This is going to be a lot of fun, okay?
Yep.
You're not holding on to your hat.
I don't have a hat on.
All right, fine.
All right.
The Soft Serve Podcast. Creamy, delicious ideas without the creepy truck. Oh my.
What was that?
That's just me saying oh my, because I'm looking over at our good friend, Joshua Michael Stewart. Hello, Josh.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming back on.
You're welcome.
The last time you were on here, I think
we drank an entire bottle of whiskey.
Drank an entire bottle of whiskey over 3 hours.
Yes.
I need to go back and listen to that podcast.
It was a bottle of scotch, actually, to be
yes.
correct.
Thank you. And there is a difference, right, between scotch and whiskey?
Well, yeah. I mean,
yeah.
It tastes different, and, scotch is, I guess you can say, is from Scotland, and
yep.
Whiskey and bourbon and all that.
Yep. And the bottle we slowly annihilated that evening was scotch. All right.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for coming on. We've been starting off these episodes just by doing some shout outs to people, right?
Yep.
Stomping Jen, who are we saying thanks to these days?
Oh my God. Who aren't we saying thank you to?
Well, in case people weren't aware, there's still a fucking pandemic going on out there.
People seem to have forgotten this.
COVID-19. But I'm still going to thank our healthcare workers, who I think in a few months are going to be back under the gun, dealing with lots of hospitalized critical patients, and also the essential workers who are opening the country back up, right? Got to open the country, according to the Cheeto. And who else? I've been thanking the demonstrators in the streets.
Yeah.
Who have been out there the last 4 weeks.
4 weeks?
Yeah, it's been 4 weeks.
No.
Yeah, it has been. We'll talk about it in a minute, but I just want to thank them because they're really making a difference. And
has it really been 4 weeks?
It's been 4 weeks, and they are...
Doesn't seem right.
This is the 4th week. And they're
right,
really...
Joshua?
Go ahead.
I mean, yeah, they're in the 4th week, yes.
Oh, they're in their 4th week. Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, so they're starting the 4th week of demonstrations, and, they've caused a lot of change to happen. So that's a great thing. So thank you to those folks, those brave folks out there making a difference. And then as we get going here, we want to ask people, our downloads and our subscriptions are way up. over
They
the last
are.
couple of weeks.
Oh, nice.
Well,
Cool.
I think that's because we've been doing really interesting, good podcasts. So
Focused content.
I'm going to give this to myself.
Oh, to yourself?
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
whose idea was it to have focused content. I have no idea.
Was it yours?
I'm not going to say.
Okay.
Well, whoever idea it was brilliant because you guys have had awesome guests the last few episodes.
Oh,
Yeah.
thank you. And we're
Between 80 and 87 have been phenomenal episodes. You guys
Aw.
should be really proud of yourselves. Really great.
thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
And I'll crack open the behind the scenes of the Soft Serve podcast a little bit, and give credit. And our good friend who's joining us all along the way has given us good feedback.
Yes.
So I think I'm always taking feedback from people. So if you want to send that along,
You want to send your feedback, let us know.
yeah, send us feedback. Tell
Is
us
that
what,
what you're trying to say?
yeah, like hit us up on the socials. Tell us what you like.
Yeah.
Tell us what you want to hear. Give
Yeah.
us feedback on our guests. But anyway, so I've been really happy with the
Focused
growing, the focused content and
Focused
the
content.
growing listenership that we're
Yeah.
getting. So
It's been fun.
yeah, so do us a favor, subscribe, download our episodes,
Yeah.
tell a friend,
Yeah.
right?
We-
Leave it. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say we've had some serious topics that we've tackled over the last couple of weeks,
Yeah.
and we wanted to have some fun with Josh tonight.
Yeah.
So we're looking forward to that.
Well, I've got a list of questions, and there's some serious topics on here, so get ready.
We're still going to have some
yeah.
serious topic time?
Yeah.
All right.
So, yeah, leave us some reviews, even if they're bad. I got a terrible review on Apple Podcasts.
Didn't they take it down?
No, it came back up.
As another one that came back
No, the
up?
same one. It criticized me for my halting speech pattern. So,
So you're going to halt some more.
I don't know. I talk the way I talk. What can I do, Stomping Jen? What
I
can I
don't
do, Josh?
don't
There's not much I can do.
No, that's the way you talk.
That's how I talk. Some people don't like it.
Some people like it, though. Some people want you to read them bedtime stories.
Oh, that's true. That was one
That's-
review.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah. So, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's let Josh tell our listeners a little bit about himself, whatever he wants to say. I know I gave you my interpretation of who he was, but I always ask our guests at the beginning of these shows to tell us about yourself. What do you want to say?
I am a poet, I guess.
You guess.
Yeah. I don't know. I always feel uncomfortable calling myself a poet. I mean, if someone else calls me a poet, that's fine. But I don't know. I just always feel uncomfortable calling myself a poet or even a musician. I really don't think of myself as a musician. I guess if I had to pick something, I would say I was going to say sound artist, but even that doesn't sound right. But anyways, I'm a poet. I have a book published by Hedgerow Books, came out in 2016 called Break Every String. I'll have a new book coming out. Actually, I don't have a publication date yet, but it's entitled The Bastard Children of Dharma Bums, and it will come out of Human Error Publishing. And I like to tinker on a variety of musical instruments, mostly the banjo and ukulele, and the bass. And I make my bread as a counselor to individuals with mental disabilities. So I am an essential worker.
Thank you for that. And thank you for all of the art you're putting out there in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
And I just got to say, I mean, if anybody, I think, can claim the title of poet, it's you.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so, I'll just start off by saying, for people who don't know, we've known Stomping Jen and I. We met Josh around the same time. We all met like almost 25 years ago. And
I know, that's nuts.
I know, it is nuts thinking about it back in college. And I will say at the time, we were in this little UMass Amherst, where we went to college, poetry group. And I'll say, from my perspective, Josh really stood out in terms of his passion for and dedication to poetry. And over these last 25 years, I've seen, unlike any other writer I've known, you commit to that over those 25 years, just keeping at it and doing the work and, never stopping. And so I think, in my eyes, you're not sort of a poet.
You totally are a poet. You do know it.
Yeah. I would just say, like, I that is how I think of you.
I think that we are so privileged because we have this, we've had this long relationship with you, and we've been able to see the growth as a writer, which is amazing. I don't think a lot of people get that opportunity.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, one thing I do like to say is, if I have any talent at all, it's in tenacity. And it is that dedication to craft and never giving up and just constantly working to do different things, to write differently, to better my craft. I mean, I really do see it as a craft.
Yeah.
And I am dedicated to that craft.
Yeah, and what do they say? I forget who said it. I'm not good at remembering who wrote what or said what, but the 10,000 hours paradigm that you have to invest in something before you even get good at it.
Yeah.
Who said that?
I don't know. Not me.
I can't. I'm the same way. I can remember quotes, but I can't tell you who said them.
Yeah. So I'm curious. I noticed when you're talking about your new book that you're changing publishers.
Well, a part of that was Paul Richmond, who runs Human Error Publishing, and he's the guy who does all the poetry festivals in the Valley. He does tons of events. He's a really great guy. He's a guy you should actually have on the podcast. He has his own publishing company, and even before my first book came out, he was asking me for a book. And every time I see him, he's like, "You got a book? You got a book?"
Yeah.
And this project I felt was right for his publishing company. So, he was the first person I went to with it. He is also known as if I can get this right, he is the nationally, what is he? The beat poet, national beat poet. That's what he is. He's like the national beat poet. Huh. And this new book, the Bastard Children of Dharma Bums, what it is the bulk of the book are what they call erasure poems.
Erasure poems?
Yeah.
Okay.
Where you take a existing text and you black out words.
Oh.
And then whatever is left in that is your poem. So you take a newspaper and you black out words, leaving certain words unmarked, and then those words, as they fall on the page, are your poem. So I did that with the entire novel of Jack Kerouac's Dharma Bums.
Oh, I see. I'm not awesome. I'm not a Kerouac fan, and I'm not that widely read. So I didn't even know that was a Jack Kerouac reference.
Yeah. So next to, On the Road, it's like his second, most popular book. So
I didn't know you were up to this. I had no idea.
Yeah.
How did you come around to conceiving this as a project you wanted to do? It's an interesting idea. And why did you pick that book?
Well, I mean, I came around to this project because, again, I'm always looking for new ways to write. A lot of my writing is spending hours and weeks staring at a blank page, waiting for something to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
And at 20 years of that, I got sick of it. So I was trying to find new ways of doing things. And there's other poets who have collections like this. So on that aspect, it's nothing new. But why did I pick Dharma Bums? I can't really remember why it was specifically that book. But it is.
You got a podcat over there.
Yeah.
That's cool. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So bottom line is whatever reason why I picked it, that's what I picked. And there's 34 chapters. Each chapter is a poem. So there's 34 poems in the bulk of the book. That's like the first half of the book. And then the second half of the book are my more shorter surrealistic poems. I've been also studying a lot of classical Japanese forms. So there's haikus and tankas. There's also what is called haibun, which is Haibun, which is mixing prose with haiku. So, which was invented by Basho. So there's a few of those in there.
I understand that that is a well-respected poetic form, but it sounds like a tasty treat. The haibun. Just in my mind, it sounds like a delicious pastry.
It probably
honey bun,
yeah. I cannot. Every time I hear that word, I can't erase that association. That is really interesting. So So the first part of it is these 34 poems, and then that you created by erasure or deduction of the text, and then these other ones that you wrote.
Right. Yeah. And it's, I've also been, I can't like saying I'm not a poet. I won't say I'm a Buddhist, but I've been studying Buddhism for quite a few years. And will you be quiet? So Buddhism, between the Dharma Bum poems and the poems I wrote, that's a theme that runs through the entire book.
Yeah. What attracted you to Buddhism? I've known this about you, and you have. I've always been interested in the readings you've recommended and some of the ideas that you've shared from your study of Buddhism. But what drew you into that and helped you narrow in on that as something you were interested in from a spiritual sense, if it is a spiritual thing for you?
I guess the one thing that really attracted Buddhism to me is it's not so much about religion as it is about being in the world and about seeing the world from a specific point of view. And again, it's like I've been reading up on it for so many years. I can't really pinpoint what actually drew me to it. It's just I read one thing that I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then that led to another thing and another thing. And, 4 or 5 years later, I have all this different stuff I've been reading.
Yeah, and you'll probably know the term off the top of your head, but one of the concepts, I think it's a Buddhist concept, or maybe it's just Japanese in origin, is the
wabi-sabi.
Wabi-sabi, thank you. The idea that broken things, when they're put back together, possess a new kind of beauty, right? That is just as valuable as before they were broken. And often they will assemble broken pieces of pottery with gold or something that actually accentuates the breaking of the piece,
Right.
rather than try to hide it and make it, perfect in some way through a invisible repair.
There's actually a place online where if you like break china, you can actually ship it to them, and they will put it back together with that gold and send it back to you.
No kidding.
Yeah.
I wonder how much.
You want to break some china?
Yeah.
Well, it's fun. It's funny you say that because a friend of mine, another poet, has done that, and I kind of told him, I'm like, I think you break things on purpose just so you can send it to them.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's interesting. It's kind of the reverse of the mandala, right? Where you create these incredibly intricate, beautiful sand paintings, destroy them, right? And that's right.
That's a Buddhist thing too.
Yep. But this is kind of taking that to a different place, because you can destroy the beautiful piece of art or pottery, right? But unlike a sand sculpture, you can kind of reassemble it back into,
give it new life and
something like its previous form, but it's something like it, but it's different, right? But beautiful in a different way. I find that really fascinating.
Yeah, well, it goes to the tenets of, nothing stays the same. Everything is in flux. Everything changes. Nothing lasts forever, which are all aspects of wabi-sabi.
Yeah, impermanence, right?
Impermanence and things aren't perfect. That's, there's what they call the Hellenistic view of beauty, like you think of like Roman Colosseums, where everything is mathematically equated, everything is symmetrical, whereas in nature, most things aren't symmetrical. Mountains aren't symmetrical. Trees are not symmetrical.
Right.
And it's because of that, it's part of their beauty.
Yeah. That's interesting. So have you been to Japan?
No. No.
Yeah.
Never been to Japan.
Would you like to go?
Is he inviting you?
I am inviting you. We're going to go on a road trip.
Field trip to Japan.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess out of all the countries, I guess Japan would probably be on the top of my list. Yeah.
Yeah. You've got to work out some kind of poet in residency there situation.
There you go.
That's the angle I would explore.
Yeah.
Explore it. Okay.
All right.
I'm interested about this Buddhism.
I know you are.
Have you gone to any Buddhist temples or Buddhist places of, I don't know if calling them worship is the right term, or Buddhist places of practice in the United States?
I mean, I guess the closest that I've gone to is the Peace Pagoda in Leverett.
Yeah.
There's a temple there, but I've never actually gone in. I've just, been studying on my own, just reading on my own. Maybe one day I'll get a teacher, but I haven't gone that threshold yet.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the Peace Pagoda is in Leverett, Massachusetts, and it's this Buddhist. I don't know what to call them. The main structure.
The
pagoda. Thank you. That thing sits on top of a mountain.
Yeah,
and you can see it from miles and miles away, and it's absolutely stunning. It's enormous.
Right.
But in the summer, I'd say be careful because it's also filled with wasps.
Wasps.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
There's also lots of frogs.
Yeah, and they have a little pond there and like
they
a
have a
sand
garden.
Yeah, and I think the temple or the temple you reference is up there.
They were building it for years.
next to this structure on the mountain.
It is.
And I visited it. We went into it one time, and it is pretty beautiful. And it was built with all volunteer labor and materials, and it's pretty nice.
Did you ever try to go around the outside of the pagoda and try to find a way in? You've done that a couple times.
I don't think
there's
it has
no secret entrance. We're like convinced that there's like some secret entrance like somewhere out in the woods, that like secret underground tunnel that like tunnels into the pagoda.
Yeah, I mean, this is an absolutely enormous structure. I don't know how to quite describe it to people. It's this huge white dome, right? And you look at the thing and you say to yourself, that has to be hollow, right?
Yeah.
And then you say to yourself, for maintenance purposes, there has to be a way into that thing.
Yeah.
And
We're convinced.
so anyways, we spent an entire afternoon wandering around looking for a secret entrance.
Spoiler alert, we didn't find one.
But but we were not able to find one. So
Yeah.
Interesting fact about Leonard Cohen, the poet and musician. He went and lived, I believe, at a Buddhist monastery for several years. He just quit music. He never quit writing, but he quit celebrity and went off and lived the life of a Buddhist monk.
It sounds like
for many years.
The plot point of Silicon Valley.
I know, but then he emerged from that and wrote his album The Future.
So
right,
good.
Which is strange because that album is so dark and so filled with anti-humanistic messages.
Maybe because he was alone.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's a really kind of bleak, amoral vision of the future. He published it in 1992, but there's a lot of pop cultural references to that album. Right, including in Natural Born Killers, the song is in that, The Future, I believe. But it's interesting to me that such a dark artistic vision emerged out of that, stay at the monastery.
Well, that makes a lot of sense, actually, because I remember he did an interview on Fresh Air, and Terry Gross was asking him about his stay in a monastery, and he basically said, like, after I don't know how long he was there for, was it 5 years, 10 years, or whatever it was, he went to the head monk, whatever the title is, and the head monk was like, well, what did you learn? And he was like, not a damn thing. And the head monk was like, good. That's what you were supposed to learn.
Yeah.
So.
Did he say it like this? Not a damn thing.
Pretty much, yeah. So yeah, I could see an album like that coming out of that.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. So anyways, Buddhism.
I don't know anything about Buddhism. I'm just going to be upfront about that.
Yeah,
can't contribute much to this conversation.
There are elements of it that I really appreciate, and some kind of pop culture interpretations of it that I really like. One is the Tao. Well, this is Taoism. Sorry, different religion altogether. Never mind. I retract. I believe Taoism is Chinese, right?
Yes, I believe so. And then there's
so not at all the same as Buddhism. So I backpedal on that.
Well, they all kind of weave in and out of each other. You know, it's like, you know, with Christianity and Judaism and Islam, you know, there's certain things that will weave in and out of all of them. You know, I think Buddhism takes a lot of from Confucius and Taoism. You know, they all borrow from each other and things like that.
Yeah, and so the books. So anyways, I really like these two books called the Tao of Pooh, like Winnie the Pooh. Right, it uses examples and the characters from A.A. Milne's Winnie the Pooh to describe the concepts of Taoism. And there's another one called The Tay of Piglet, which I really like. And that book is really centered and focused on the strength of small things and the strength of inaction versus action. Anyways, I recommend those books, Stomping Jen and Josh.
The strength of inaction.
Yeah.
Versus action.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes
less is more.
Sometimes staying silent is more powerful than speaking, yada, yada, yada. Yeah. So.
What happened?
No, I'm looking at you, thinking if you had anything to
I just said
offer on that.
I don't really know very much about Buddhism.
Yeah.
So I can't contribute much to this conversation.
Yeah.
But we can move on to a different topic.
Yeah. No, well, I want to continue my interrogation of Mr. Stewart here.
Where's your searchlight?
Yeah. I would shine a light on you if I could. So I'm curious. I was surprised, like I said before, I was surprised. I didn't know you were working on that erasure form of poetry. Was that something you had talked about before, and I just missed it?
Or how long were you working on it? Yeah.
I know I started it sometime last year. I can't remember exactly. Well, it's confusing because I started working on it and, I worked on it for a couple of months and then I put it aside and then I did other things for a couple of months and then I bounced back to it. I just finished it, and including edits in May. So It's newly done. And actually I'm working on 3 books to be exact.
Goodness gracious.
Now, I'm curious if working in that particular form reflects something going on in your life or is reflective of a place you're at in your life. Because in a lot of it's interesting to me as a form. It's about taking away, right? What's there,
and highlighting what's remains,
or letting the extraction highlight what's there, right? It's not like I'm just curious if that reflects something about where you're at as a poet, or where you're at in your life. Or you're just interested in it. Or...
Well, I'm always interested in finding new ways to create.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect of it. What I did really find interesting is, when I'm reading through the page and I'm just, I did it a little differently than what you're supposed to. What you're supposed to do is take a black magic marker or whatever and black out what you want to take away. But what I did was actually I had a red pen, and instead of blacking out, what I did was I highlighted what I wanted to keep. And when I was going through each page, I didn't really think too much of what I was highlighting. When I was just whatever words or phrases that jumped out at me, that's what I highlighted. And I just noticed that there were certain words that every once in a while that just would constantly jump up at me, and I would highlight. One of those words would be desolation. Every time desolation was on the page, I just went right for it. So that's just one example.
So will the final form be reflective of the creative process? Will the final non-selected words be blacked out, or will it appear as like how you created it?
Well, usually when they have erasure poems, you see the black lines that were marked out. My way of thinking is, if you're going to erase it, then just freaking erase the damn thing. So the poems actually just look like regular poems. You would never know that they were erasure poems.
Okay.
So what I did was I highlighted the words I wanted to keep. as they fall on the page, that's how I kept them in the poem. But I did play around with punctuation, with line break, and I also would change the tense of a word. So I would change, broken to break, for an example. But other than that, the words are exactly as they fell on the page. And what I also found interesting is, you come up with these really weird combinations of words and that, but, and I wasn't really planning on doing this, but it just ended up happening that if you ever read any of Jack Kerouac's poems, they sound a lot like the poems I wrote, or at least the poems that I created sound a lot like Kerouac's poems.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my nod, my tribute to him.
Yeah. I think there's something interesting, though, in your choice of process around this. I really do. Because I just want to say, like, I've always seen you as somebody who has a tremendous respect for language and words, and like deliberately not assaulting the words by crossing them out with a Sharpie, to me maybe says something about, how you how you respect words, or how you feel about words and their importance. I don't know. That is very interesting to me, that your process is different than what a lot of people do. And I think there's something in that to explore. I'm not smart enough to know what that is.
He's your new therapist.
No,
Congratulations.
I'm not smart enough to
Be
know
on
what,
a podcast.
I'm just saying I'm not smart enough to know what that is, but it's interesting to me.
I hear what you're saying.
To be honest, it might just be a practical thing, whereas if I used a magic marker, it would just bleed through the page. Mm-hmm. And so it would just be a muddy mess.
Right.
I think really that's what it boils down to.
Yeah. It's hard to desecrate a book, I think, is what write it down.
How dare
Write
you?
it down. It's because we're too familiar with Josh. It was the first time I think I've done that this entire time.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I think that's the point that Sawtooth was trying to make.
It wasn't about desecrating a book. I was just trying to dig in. It was not really.
Okay. All right, forget it. I retract my.
No, I was just trying to dig in.
That whole section out.
I was just trying to dig into the choice around the creative process. And what I'm hearing Josh say is it could be as simple as when you're working off of a paperback. If you use a Sharpie, it will bleed through onto the other side of the page, and then you can't see what's there. Like, that's valid. But I thought maybe there was something deeper. I don't know. Again, I'm not smart enough to really know. I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist.
Well, it goes back to craft. It's what I really love is, to be honest, I don't even know if I love language that much. What I love is creating things, creating art. Mm-hmm. And if I have to desecrate somebody else's book to create that art, then so be it. Actually, it reminds me a lot of your collages, Jen. In a way, it's something similar.
Yeah, I was thinking about that because it's like the choosing of the image, and then you have to carefully cull it and crop it from the page, and then if you fuck it up, then you've lost it because you don't have that image again, right? You only have one image to play with.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
Well, it's all about taking all this existing material and making something new.
It's wabi-sabi.
Yeah.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah.
It's wabi-sabi.
Everything changes.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and I just lost my thought. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
So the new work in your book, The Bastard Children of Dharma Bums, does that have kind of a uniting theme to it at all, or is it just is each poem kind of a standalone entity?
Well, there's the theme of, the Buddhist theme runs through the whole book. It doesn't necessarily tell a story, I would say. There's a lot of nature poems. There's one of the high buns is the tragic story of when I got Lyme disease.
Oh man, that's intense.
So, yeah.
Well, a lot of your poems are really emotionally intense. One of the things I observed, we went to your reading for your last book, which was Break Every String. You should go buy that. What is the publisher again?
Hedgerow Books.
Hedgerow Books. Yeah.
Yeah.
Go buy that. It's a really good book. We went to the reading of that, and I got to say, I was really impressed because you got up there in front of all these people and read some, what I thought were really personal poems that reference stuff maybe that happened earlier in your life. And this one poem you read, I think you were particularly referencing your father. And it was like a really intense poem. And he was sitting right there in the audience.
Yeah, that was kind of weird.
Yeah, and that impressed me. I thought it was an incredibly bold and brave thing to be able to do. And I'm curious, like, what was the conversation with him like after that? Like, is he the type to like say to you, "Hey, son, what the fuck was that?"
No, not at all. In fact, I don't even know if we ever really talked about it.
Yeah.
And that whole book, I really have to give credit to my mentor, Ellen Doré Watson, because when I was, was the one who really pushed me to write Break Every String as it is. I didn't really want to, I had a few, quote unquote family poems, but it wasn't like my main interest. I had all these other like really surrealistic, wacky poems, and she was like, "Nope, this is the book you need to write. You need to write these poems." So even like when my book was accepted, they were like, "Yeah, this is great. We just want you to take out of the 44 poems, we want you to take out 22 of them and write 22 more."
Whoa.
Yeah.
I think I would have rage quit at that point.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of rage, and there was through the editing process was tough. But I'm glad I did what I did. It did end up turning out to be a really good book. If I do say so myself.
Yeah, and I heard you say your dad, and you didn't really talk about it afterwards. And I want to say, like, that your dad should get a lot of credit for that too, for kind of giving you the space to be the man and the artist you are, and not, hold a grudge against you for that, or make things, maybe there's other shit in your life that he's pissed at you about, but at least he's given you the room to do that,
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, most of the poems about my father are more on, I guess, on the positive side. The poems about my mother, not so much.
Yeah.
So, and I also think my dad knows me enough that if he tells me not to write a poem, that it's just going to make me want to write more. So it's not going to solve anything.
You're going to get a whole book of dad poems.
Yeah. So, but the Dharma Bums, there's no, there are some personal stuff, but it's not like Break Every String. I didn't want to write another Break Every String. I didn't want to be like, here's another book about, when I grew up in Ohio in 1980s.
Right.
So, and that kind of leads to the other book I'm working on, which is going to be titled Love Something.
Love Something?
Love Something.
Love Something. Okay.
Yeah. And that's going to be a book of homages, odes, tributes, and just a book of praise, really. Because Break Every String was so dark and gritty, I wanted my next book to be a book of praise, of a book of joy. In Break Every String, one of the underlying themes is that despite my hardship of when I was growing up in Ohio, the one thing that has saved me is art, is music, is poetry. That is the thing that has got me through. And so I wanted to write a book where I praise other writers, other musicians,
podcasters.
Could be podcasters, yes.
Yeah.
One other technique I've been using in that book, which is kind of similar to the Erasure poems, is I've been doing this, what is called writing through. And I believe it was John Cage. I could be mistaken, but I believe it was John Cage who wrote a poem called Writing Through Howl, in which he took Allen Ginsberg's Howl and broke it all apart and then wrote a whole new poem using the lines of Howl. But he did it, and he actually used this like algorithm, and as the poem falls on the page, it actually the lines keep repeating Allen Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg, Allen Ginsberg, of the first letters of each line. I did something similar to that, but my method is completely different. So I'm sorry, but it gets kind of complicated. But so I wrote the first one. I wrote to my mentor, Ellen Watson, and what I did was I read through her 4 books, and in each poem I grabbed kind of the same way as with the Dharma Bums. I would grab a line, a word, a phrase, an entire stanza, and I would make a column. So book 1 had a column, book 2, book 3, book 4.
Okay.
And then what I would do is I would take a line from a poem in book 1, break it in half, and then smash it together with a half of a line from book 3. And in the beginning, all I was doing was creating sentences. I wasn't thinking about how the sentences worked with each other. All I wanted was sentences. And I had 18 pages of material. After breaking lines in half and twisting them and adding onto them and deleting aspects of them, I ended up with 144 sentences. And then again, I went back and I took the 144 sentences and I tried to figure out how sentences would correspond with each other. And that was a whole process. Again, editing, cutting, adding to it, twisting, until I got to like this 2-page poem. And even though I'm using her words, by time I'm done with the whole thing, it's a new creation. It's my thing. In fact, if you read the poem, you would never know it was it came from her work. It actually sounds like a Joshua Michael Stewart poem.
Jesus Christ, that's incredibly complex. Like that process, yes. And I can't even imagine how much work that was.
Yeah, it takes a long time, but it's great when you have writer's block.
Yeah. Well,
because it's like working on a puzzle.
Did you
it's sculpting.
Did you draw inspiration from for the process, or did you sit down and think, how am I going to do this from scratch?
Well, I mean, there was the John Cage idea.
Yeah. Yep.
But then I was like, well, I don't want to do it like he does.
Yep. God.
And, it's a lot of my work is I take a bunch of shit and I throw it against a wall, and whatever sticks, that's what I got.
That sounds like my collage. It sounds pretty accurate.
It's just trial and error. And that's why, when people ask, like when you and other people ask me questions, I stumble, because at the end of the day, I don't really know how I got there. It's just, I tried this and then I tried that.
It feels right.
This.
It feels right.
Yeah. And for the record, I don't feel like you're stumbling at all. I'm really fascinated by process. I'm actually a process geek. So that I'm really looking forward to seeing the finished product, knowing that. Is your mentor, Ellen, I'm sorry, I'm not good with last names, Watson, are they still alive?
Oh, yeah. She's retired now, but she taught at Smith College for years. She ran the Poetry Center at Smith. All the poetry readings that come to Smith, she doesn't do it this year, but for the last 20 years, she was the one putting them together. Yeah. She edits the Massachusetts Review.
Now, does she know you're... Sorry, Stomping Jen, go ahead. I was just going to ask, does she know you're up to this?
Yeah.
Okay.
How does one find a mentor?
That's a great question.
Oh, thank you.
Well, what happened was, again, it's a stumbling thing. I think it was in Poets and Writers magazine. There's a classified section, or actually, it might have been I take that back. I think it was the Valley Advocate. There was the classified section, and there was a thing like, "Hey, writers, join this writers group." And this was around 2000. I didn't belong to any writers group. I got as far as I could on my own, and I was like, I need to do more. And I went to the writers workshop. She was leading it. I had no idea who the hell she was. But during the workshop, she mentioned, I also do private one-on-one tutoring, or whatever you call it. And I was like, that's what I need.
Yeah. Because
when you do workshops, for me, they don't really work. Right? I don't get a lot out of them.
Yeah.
You go in with your 10-line poem, and they go, I like line 1, and I like line 5, and I like line 10, really strong lines. But then they don't really tell you anything about all the other lines.
Right.
So whereas when I started working with Ellen, the great thing she would do is, like, she would take a line and she would be like, this is what you said, but this is what you want to say. And 9 out of 10 times I was like, absolutely right. Like, yes, that's like, that's exactly what I wanted to do.
Now, I feel like I would respond to that being like, you have no idea what I want to say. How do you know that? Like, that's how I, like, and my ego is, is woundable enough where I would probably respond that way. How do you take that kind of feedback when somebody's saying to you, here's what you really want to say. I know your poem better than you do. How do you?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'm open-minded to it. And the thing was it wasn't just like she would go in deeper with it. Like, she would really explain, like, I'm not just saying this because I want to say it. Like, this is what you wanted to say. For an example, I had a poem. Actually, this poem is, it's funny how this stuff works. I'm having a poem published in July. The poem I wrote over 15 years ago, and it's
Oh,
now
wow.
just being published. And it's actually a poem that means the most to me out of all the poems I've ever written. That's the one.
Is that the one that's going to be in Coal Hill Review?
No,
Okay.
no. It's going to be in Plain Songs in July.
Okay.
But the one that's published in Coal Hill Review, I wrote for the poet Pam Stewart, no relation to me, using that writing through method I talked about earlier.
Yeah.
For Ellen's the poem I wrote for Ellen, I did the same method for Pam Stewart, where I read Pam's books and I did that whole process. But in this other poem, what it's about is it started off with that question, like, what would you say to your younger self now that you're an adult?
Oh my God, I have that question written here.
Literally has that
literally have that
written
written
on
here.
this paper.
Yeah. So what the hell? What the hell would you say?
Well,
Yeah.
wait, I'm trying to.
So I think you're gonna maybe pull it up or look at it, or
Yeah, if you don't mind.
no, not at all. Yeah, that is so funny. What I wrote here as you're doing that is, we've known you as a working poet for almost 25 years. What advice would you give that kid we first met at the UMass Poetry Club way back when? That's the question I wrote.
I know, I see it.
Do you see it, Stomping Jen?
I do. I really have to pee.
Oh, go ahead. I got
I
this.
don't want to miss the poem or whatever.
You won't miss it. Hurry up.
Right,
Yeah.
Sorry.
I got I got a
stop.
cup here. You want to pee in this cup? You sure? And go under the wire. That's the webcam. There you go. You got it. All right. Peeing Jen. There she goes. She's going to pee. Should I go in there with the mic? Yeah, that is so funny. So you wrote a whole poem about the advice you would give to yourself?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay. Stomping Jen will be pissed if you start talking about this before she gets back.
I'm holding off.
Yeah. So, Ellen Watson.
Ellen Doré Watson. Yeah.
Is she still writing and publishing, or is she retired?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
Well, she's retired from teaching at Smith, but I know she does. She teaches at a MFA program at. I forget which college it is, but she still edits the Massachusetts Review. She still writes. She did a reading tour in London with poet Thomas Lux before he passed away. Thomas Lux is a big deal.
Yeah.
So,
and what I want to say before Josh says whatever he wants to say about this poem, what I want to say I'm really impressed with is. You had enough humility to say way back when, I feel like I'm stuck. I need help. And then you got lessons from a master.
And I worked with her for 15 years.
Yeah. That is, I mean, that is commendable. I think we often see, creatives and artists as people being islands on their own, and they do everything on their own, and they don't get help in terms of the creative process or what?
Just thinking back to some conversations that we've had recently.
What?
About how when you first started this podcast,
what about it?
Sort of directionless.
Yeah, and I
helped craft it.
You helped. Yeah, absolutely.
I helped.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, and I was saying the other day, we'll get right back to you, I promise. I had to do, you probably heard this, like 10 minutes of the podcast without Stomping Jen when we had a guest on, Elena McCauley, when we were talking about racism, and I felt directionless and rudderless. Like I didn't feel grounded. So this is not really, it's no longer my podcast is how I started out and envisioned it. I think
you're no longer an island.
It has grown so much.
Yeah.
And part of that is like what we were talking about earlier. It's investing the time and the hours. And, I think I'm a much more facile podcaster now. I'm better at it than I was when we started. So anyways, back to Josh. So we were talking about this poem you worked with Ellen Watson on for what you said 16 years ago you started
15.
This?
Yeah, I wrote it 15 years ago, and I wrote it 15 years ago, and it as they say, it never had legs. Like I sent it out to different publishers and that, and no one would take it. I think a lot of it had to do with it was originally called When the Surrealist No Longer Remembers His Dreams, which I think was too little tongue-in-cheek, and it really didn't reflect what the poem was about. I changed the title, and here 15 years later, it's not only being published, but it like won some award in the magazine.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So
that's awesome. Congrats.
But so one thing I wanted to mention, like where I talk about how Ellen was like, this is what you said, and this is what you meant to say. So these two individuals are walking, they're walking down a road, and they're walking together. And I originally said, the narrator, the speaker says, I pick up speed because it was raining and whatnot. And she's like, you don't want to say pick up speed, because when you say picking up speed means that you're leaving the other person behind, but you want to move faster, but have the other person stay with you. So instead of saying pick up speed, you want to say pick up pace. And that one word changed the line. It made it what it really was meant to be. So anyways, this poem is, it started off with me trying to, that question, what would you say to your younger self? And I am so vastly different as an adult than who I was as a kid, especially that kid who grew up in Ohio, that I'm like, that kid is dead to me.
Yeah.
And then that got me thinking, well, what if I am talking to this kid and this kid is dead?
Oh, no.
And this kid is, basically a zombie, more or less. So anyways, the poem is called Elegy for Who I Once Was. Summer. We were walking a country road before dawn, and you were dead. I don't remember your dying, but there you were, dragging your feet, your eyes like the bottoms of glass ashtrays. Your breath. I said it smelled of death, and you just groaned. I felt like an idiot. I never wanted this. I never wanted it to rain. Do you have any idea what a soggy corpse is like so early in the morning? I tried to pick up the pace, but all you could do was slosh down the road. Eventually, we came to a barn and hobbled inside to get dry. Soon the sun was up. The rain had stopped, and the insects were getting jiggy in the fields. You slumped into an empty stall. Sunlight beamed through the slits in the boards, and the dust of your body mingled with the dust of the barn, the outside world, and possibly me. Despite the decay, you looked lovely, disappearing like that. And I confess, if I wasn't such a fool, I'd love you right down to the bone. Vultures usually do. It was the first thing you said all morning.
Jesus Christ.
Punctuated by the cat and me sneezing.
That's intense. That is intense. That is good.
Yeah.
No wonder
Thank
it
you.
won an award.
Yeah, that was really good.
I was
Sorry,
in that.
I was trying to hold my sneeze the whole time. I'm a mess tonight.
I was in that barn, man.
Yeah.
The barn dust.
I had
made
my
me
eyes
sneeze.
closed. I had my eyes closed. I was in that barn.
Yeah, you'd be happy to know that I also have a fox family running around in the woods behind my apartment building. So my
cool.
cats have been in quarantine and they're pissed.
Oh yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. I don't,
Yeah.
well, that what journal was that? Plain Songs?
Yeah, plain songs.
Plain Songs. Okay.
That's super cool.
All right. Yeah. Ooh. Thanks for reading that.
Thank you.
Jeez. You know what I'm going to do, Stomping Jen?
What are you gonna do?
I'm going to go pee.
You're gonna go pee now.
So, well, what I want to say, Josh, do you want to talk any more about poetry? I want to get to your music a little bit and talk about music with you because you're also a really great musician, and I just wanted to chat a little bit with you about that too.
Yeah, no, that would be great.
Okay. So I'm gonna
cats while you go pee. Are you gonna stop?
Yeah, go ahead. You chat with where you want. I'm gonna actually
play one of the songs.
I'm gonna start playing one of the more recent compositions you did. While I go pee. It's called "Flowers for George Floyd." Is that okay if I play that?
Yeah.
And that is in reference to George Floyd, the black man who was murdered by the cops in Minneapolis. So this is Josh's composition. I'm gonna hit the play on this, and then I'm gonna get up and go pee. Okay.
You got 4 minutes.
Oops, sorry. Let me just dial it down a bit. Okay, I'll be right back. You two talk about cats or talk about this.
Okay.
I'll be right back.
Thank you. He's gone. He's left the room. What instruments are you using?
There's piano, a ukulele, electric bass guitar. There is keyboard, synth, flute, violin, viola, and cello.
Oh my God.
I'm back.
Do you play all those instruments, or how does that work?
I am playing the ukulele and I am playing the bass. The computer is playing the flute and the strings,
Okay.
and the piano, but I wrote all of them.
Music, right? Yeah.
So I wrote them, and then I use a MIDI system to play them back.
That's super cool.
And you can write music, you said, right? Correct?
Yes. Yeah.
Did you see his musical sheet, his
I
music
did.
annotation?
Yeah, that's why I asked.
They use an app for that, right? Or
I mean, an app or a software program, whatever you really want to call it. I don't even know what it's called. It's actually, you can get it free offline.
that's pretty cool. But you need to know music theory in order to write. You can't just
Right.
Yeah.
you can't just throw a bunch of notes on a piece of paper.
Well, that's
it's actually
yeah.
it's
go ahead.
called it's called. I use what is called Muse Score.
Uh-huh.
I use that to write, but I also use this other program that's called what is it called? Oh, Band in a Box.
That's fun.
Which I use Band in the Box. I use that to create a lot of the stuff for Shivering Jim.
Yeah.
That's a good song. We'll play that later. Maybe we'll go out on that. That's a great song.
Super Jim.
So, and this was like my first, this piece was my first attempt to write something quote unquote classical, you know?
I'm just sitting with this.
so funny.
What's so funny?
You.
Why is that funny?
I don't know why. You crack me up. So sad.
What were you, obviously, this is an incredibly serious subject that the song is inspired by. How do you sit down and... what I'm fascinated about is like how you take those ideas about, you know, the murder of George Floyd, the injustice in the system, and translate that onto a piece of paper without even playing a note. I don't even understand how a person could do that. I guess because I don't write music.
Right, you're not a musician.
Yeah, it's just something I don't understand. I mean, there may not be an answer to that question. It could be a stupid question.
He's asking you lots of process questions. Right?
I mean, it's
like, do certain musical keys evoke like certain feelings in people?
It's in a minor. So any minor keys
or sad songs.
Yeah. What is again in a craft aspect of it, the whole melody is only 4 notes, so it's very minimalistic. I take those 4 notes and I try to do as many different combinations as I can in the piece, and on top of that, I use even though I'm only using 4 notes, I'm using different harmonic structures, which are the chords. So I'll use, the same 4 notes, but on those same 4 notes, there's an A minor 7 chord, there's a C major 6, there's a E7 flat 5.
You need to incorporate those cat meows into a piece of music.
Yeah, she can be relentless. So and the harmonic structure beyond below the melody gives each section its own color.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it sounds it sounds sad to me, but I don't know. It's good. I like it. I'm going to play it again.
Oh my gosh.
We're just going to play it. It's going to go in the background.
You're so funny. You crack me up.
I love the piano, though. I love the piano. I love crickets, too. You hear that cricket?
Is that outside?
I think that's in somebody's... It's either here or in Josh's apartment. I don't think it's
Oh, it
part
might
of the
be.
music.
Yeah, I got my windows open. You
That's
guys
why
can
they
hear
want to
that?
go outside. Yeah.
You have a good mic.
Your cats are the best, though.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on 1 second. Come here.
They sound like
I like the hey, come here.
No, she's not going to stay.
She's not going to stay.
Is she staying there?
No, so
This is the only way I can keep her to shut up.
Josh has a gigantic cat sitting in his arms as he's talking to us.
Oh, she's so pretty.
Oh my gosh, that is one of the biggest cats I've ever seen.
And look at that tail.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
So
Is she Maine Coon?
obviously part
She
Maine
is.
Coon.
Yeah,
Wow.
Is she one of the feral cats from outside?
she is. Yeah,
That's amazing.
yeah.
She looks bigger than Nikki.
What a gorgeous
She
animal.
isn't. She's actually quite tiny.
Oh, is she? She's got
Yeah, she is.
poofiness.
Yeah.
She's a poofy cat.
And then her sister looks nothing like her. Her sister's a short hair.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's T-Bone, and T-Bone's like Icky's size.
Yeah.
Yeah, Icky is one of our podcats, Ichabod, who's a he's slighter
big.
now in his older
Yeah,
years.
he's getting a little. His weight has redistributed to different places.
Yeah. Well, this is a beautiful piece.
Well, thank you.
Are you going to do more classical compositions, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. Again, it's always trying new things, different things. So it was, I was like, oh, I never I've always wanted to write for a string quartet, but I never have. So I was like, well, I'll write a string quartet for this piece.
What other pieces do we have?
So I see this other one
SoundCloud?
here. That, 2 for the price of 1. Is that one of your poems?
No, that's one of my newer tunes where I use 2 basses, a low end bass and a high end bass, and a Buddhist lotus drum.
Oh, yeah. I remember this one. All right, let's try that one. All right. So that was Flowers for George Floyd. Okay. That was beautiful. Okay, let's try 2 for the price of 1. And as Josh just told us, this is like dueling basses of some kind, and a lotus drum.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this one.
The first time I heard this, I couldn't hear the lotus drum. It was afterwards I could hear it. Oh wait, was it a bowl? There's a bowl in it, right? What's that called? A whispering bowl?
A singing bowl.
A singing bowl.
Though that's not what I'm using here.
Okay.
But I have used a singing bowl in another piece. And one of my, I have a longer piece of meditation music where I use it.
That just totally picked up and changed the whole structure of the song. Like at first it was like, it was reminding me of the Cassandra Wilson cover of Harvest Moon.
Oh, really?
And now it has a different tone altogether. It's like happy and joyful and like I'm going to go out.
Yeah, it's very jaunty.
I feel like it started off as jaunty.
I feel like it started off like more mellow. Like go out in the backyard with a fire. It shifted. I really feel like it shifted tone. Now it shifted again.
It did.
Did it change keys?
It did.
You would never know I minored in music theory. Yeah. Gosh darn it. It's like, that's the thing that like my biggest regret is that I spent and invested my energy in learning all this stuff and I don't remember a thing. It's so sad.
Why do you regret it?
Because I wish I had more of a reason to have done that work. Like if I was actually a musician or, if I was prepared to further my career in music in some way, shape, or form. But I mean, it was fascinating to me at the time.
Yeah, like music theory. That is my strength.
Yeah.
As a musician, I'm really not a musician. I hate performing live. Mm-hmm. When I was in a band, I couldn't stand it.
Mm-hmm.
What didn't you like about it?
There's just. I mean, there's that, but there's all the behind the scenes shit.
The logistics.
There's the
drive it across country in my van.
Well, I mean, yeah, I never actually had to experience that, but it's you're told you're going to be paid one thing, and then you get to the gig and you find out that you're not being paid $50 a guy. You're paid $50 for the whole band.
Thing. Yeah.
Oh man.
And then there's the other thing, band members who don't show up for gigs and stuff.
This is grinning in your face.
Yeah.
Who's singing?
It was Sticky Pickles McGee.
Who is Sticky Pickles McGee?
A legendary bluesman that never was.
That's you?
Is that
that's
you?
That's
Yes.
totally you. You can't hear it. You can totally hear it.
This is amazing.
still. Yeah, they don't care how you try to live. They talk about you still. Oh, but bear this in mind.
I think I want more Sticky Pickles McGee.
Sticky Pickles.
Sticky Pickles Dupree, I mean.
Oh, Dupree. That's right. That's right.
I like that. Sticky Pickles. That would make a good cat name. Sticky Pickles.
You have got to have some kind of effect on your voice,
That's like
right?
the same as like
yeah.
when you put the shit on your voice for your bumpers.
Yeah, I
Why are you
recorded
shaking?
it and then I changed it. I dropped it a key. So I think I originally sang it in like the key of D, so I dropped it down to the key of C or something like that. Or no. I dropped it down a minor third of whatever the original key was.
I can't even understand what you're saying.
He
He made it lower?
is a music theorist. That's
Yeah.
all you need to know. You know that everything in music is octaves, right?
Yeah. I
Okay.
can definitely like tell the way you're saying the words that it's you. All right, let's try this one. Baby, please don't go. How's that? This one's on here. Let's try this one. Some banjo, right? Right out of the gate. Does this one have words?
It does. It's an old blues tune.
Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go. Baby, please don't go.
I'm so impressed.
You can ask Josh to be your mentor.
Would I have to sit in a room and have a lesson?
Uh-huh.
I'm unteachable at this point.
What, you taught yourself how to do all of this? You fixed
I could
our
be my own
pressure-
mentor.
You fixed our pressure washer.
Did you just say I should be my own mentor?
No, that's not what I said.
You're awesome.
I have to use a pressure washer tomorrow, actually.
Oh, cool. What are you washing? Your cats?
No, I'm going to my dad's and I'm helping him redo his deck. So we're going to wash down the deck and
Nice.
repaint it.
I
Our
like
friend's,
this one.
what's her name? Geeky Nelly. What's her name? Our friend Nervous Nelly. That's not right.
Nerdy Nelly?
Nerdy Nelly.
Yeah, Nerdy Nelly.
She told me she's like redoing their deck something.
Yeah.
She's like all excited. I'm like, this sounds like torture. She's like, I love manual labor in the summer. I'm like, who are you? It sounds terrible to me.
All right, that's Baby, Please Don't Go.
Every time I hear that, I think, please don't go.
I mean, this is a long list. Oh, look, here's one called And In Walked Sawtooth Frank.
No.
Yeah, it's a
You made a
composition for me.
You made a song
Yeah.
for him?
Yep.
I did a long time ago.
He made one for you, too, called Food Truck Friday.
That was the first one I made.
This is my song.
Good.
I might have to redo things here and open the podcast with this. Would you be opposed to that?
No, not at all.
This is good. This is jaunty. And in walks Sawtooth Frank. He had a limp. He had a bucket of shrimp.
What?
In walked Sawtooth Frank.
Why do you have a bucket of shrimp?
Why you
Why
got
not?
that bucket of shrimp? Said a lady. Why you got a bucket of shrimp? Are you crazy? In walked Sawtooth Frank.
You guys should do a collaboration.
In walks Sawtooth Frank. He said, Dear Miss, I'm hungry as hell. Please don't mind the shrimpy smell. In walks Sawtooth Frank. In walks Sawtooth Frank. That's all I got.
That was pretty good.
Thanks. Totally freestyled.
I could see your notes. You wrote it all down over
Yeah.
there. You're fully prepared for this.
This is good. Oh, yeah. In walks Sawtooth
This is his new.
Put those shrimp right on the stove.
Oh my gosh!
Oh yeah. Oh, this is good.
I don't understand why you're singing about shrimp.
Who knows? That's just what came into my mind. Oh, so many things here. Oh, I like this one. We played this one before. Keep my skillet good and greasy.
Greasy one.
This is a great one, yeah. I love this. So many.
We have bacon grease. What can we
Yep.
do with it?
We can keep our skillet good and greasy.
Good and greasy.
Oh man, this is good. How long does it take you to write one of these?
This is a classic.
Oh, is this a
You
cover?
told us about this.
Oh, right.
Yeah, this is an old folks tune.
Okay.
It's weird, like a lot of the cover songs, I'll learn it and I'll like play it, just as I practice for could be years, and then just one day I decide, okay, I want to put it down, and then I do, and it all depends. It takes a couple days. Mm-hmm. It all depends on how much time I have to actually sit and do it.
Yeah.
Do you keep your skillet greasy while you do it?
This is so. I
do.
love this.
Your friend, that guy. Do you actually know that person? The one. What was the name of that?
Who was on last week?
No.
Because they know each other.
No.
Josh and Jason.
The song that came up because I went to the SoundCloud and then it was like a playlist and it was the
Sean.
Astro Sasquatch.
Yeah, that's
I was
Sean
like,
Fennel.
Do you actually know him in person?
Oh yeah. We went to high school together.
You did?
Will he be
Yeah,
mad?
yeah.
Will he be upset if you say his name on here?
No, not at
okay.
all. I don't think so.
Okay.
And fuck him anyways if you did.
Astro Sasquatch.
Astro Sasquatch. I just started laughing. Like, what is this? Astro
Yeah.
Sasquatch.
Huge Frank Zappa fan. That's how we all bonded. Like in especially our senior year of high school.
Yeah.
Frank Zappa's Joe's Garage was literally like our. Well, okay, I guess not literally, but it was a Bible to us.
Mm-hmm.
Like everything we said and did was always about Joe's Garage.
That's awesome.
I wanted to make sure we're showing Josh's full range here. I'm gonna play some of his meditation music he wrote. Which one should I play? Sunday Rain, Meditation Suite, or Flow?
Meditation Suite, I guess.
Okay, well let's bump some of that.
Ooh.
Some
bongo action or something. Some percussion.
Now, again, talking about music theory, this piece is in 5 sections, and this first section is all written in what is called the Phrygian mode.
Phrygian mode.
Yeah.
I know a lot of modes, but I've never heard of that mode.
Oh my gosh. I have a question.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Do you apply music theory principles when writing poetry?
It's a good question.
That is a very good question. I've actually tried, again, going with, there's this thing called modal jazz.
Mm-hmm.
And I've tried to think about how I could incorporate modal jazz theory into poetry. Mm-hmm. And it hasn't happened yet.
Okay. All right. Well, when you figure it out.
I think about it all the time.
Yeah,
I think about it all the time.
When you figure it out, you got to come back and talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, this is great. Okay, so what else are you doing when you're not writing poems or music? What else do you do for fun?
Nothing.
So you work. Yeah, I mean, you mentioned before that you work. So.
Yeah, I mean, I work. I do my poetry and my music. I take care of my cats. I try to do my daily walk at the Quabbin.
Now, these cats, real quick, if you have time.
Yeah.
People don't understand. You have like a feral
Cat
colony of cats that live near your home, and you've got a bunch living with you now in residence.
Well, the clouder, which is the proper word for a group of cats.
A clouder.
A clouder.
Okay.
Like chowder, but
Yep.
with an L, right?
Yeah. Also, a group of cats is also known as a glaring.
No kidding.
That makes
Which is-
sense because they
which is
glare at
actu-
you.
Yeah.
A glaring.
A glaring. Yeah.
I want a glaring of cats.
Unfortunately, most of the all the feral cats are gone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they either disappeared. A couple got hit by cars. The last one was actually my the two sisters' mother. Her name was Brindy, and she, I can get her as close. You know, she'll smell my hand. But that's as close as she ever got. I was never able to get her inside or anything. So the 3 cats I have now, all at one time were feral, but they pretty much live inside now. They don't go outside, and the other ones are all unfortunately gone.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
sad.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
I know they had been there for many, many years. That glaring.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, they're gorgeous cats, though. I wish people could see them. They are these like giant Maine Coon looking cats.
Well, that one was.
Yeah.
He said the
Yeah.
other one doesn't look like that.
Oh, sorry, I missed that. I
And
might
he
have
said
been.
the other
Actually,
one was a tabby.
If you
T-bone.
look behind, me,
Yep.
underneath the Dexter Gordon poster, hit her sister sleeping on her little tuffet.
Okay.
Aw.
Yeah,
So cute.
Nice.
T-bone is under the bed somewhere.
So cute.
All right, now, another question I want to ask you. The last question. And I've asked this of several of our guests. Okay, how do I want to frame this? Whether it's been outside or inside, have you ever seen or experienced something you can't quite explain?
I've never seen Bigfoot. No.
God damn it, that's not what I mean! It could be anything.
I actually at the Quabbin. When was this? This was last summer, actually maybe a year ago. I almost I was walking by the Windsor Dam, and you know how there's the long road that attaches the Windsor Dam to Route 9,
Yep.
right? So my walk routine is I go on the Windsor Dam, go the one end, come back, go all the way down to Route 9, and come back, do it all over. It ends up being like an hour and 15 minutes. Anyways, I'm walking down that long road, heading towards Route 9.
And this is a woodsy area.
And it's a woodsy area,
Yep.
and walks right in front of me. Well, not right in front of me. It was a little distance away. Was a moose.
Oh, cool.
A moose walked out and stood right in that road and stared at me.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
And it was giving me that look like you come any closer and I'm gonna fuck your face.
Was it giving you the glaring?
It was.
It had 20 cats sitting on its back. Now that would be something you can't explain. A moose with 20 cats on its back.
That's true.
that would be. So
All right. Okay. So the answer is no. Fine.
no.
That happened, what you just described. So I was driving up on 202.
Route
on the
202.
Yeah, on the
Yep.
side of the Quabbin.
In Massachusetts. Yep.
One morning. And ahead of me, like 200 feet ahead of me, as I was driving, a moose like lumbered out of the forest and crossed the road. And it was like the weirdest thing I've ever seen because it like looked like a giant horse. But I'm like, that isn't a horse, though. It's not a horse.
Yeah, they're huge. And you see, actually, I saw them on 202 as well.
Yeah.
And what is interesting is like 20 25 years ago, if you're on Route 202,
Yeah.
you would never see a moose crossing sign.
Yeah.
Now there's a moose crossing sign like every 10 feet.
Yeah. Yeah. It's true. It's true.
Oh, I'm just reflecting. I'm listening to the meditation music,
Yeah.
thinking about back over the last 94 minutes we spent with Josh.
94.
It flew by.
It did.
It always does.
It's because we love chatting with you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that was great. We didn't
Does that mean it's over?
No, it doesn't. It doesn't have to
He's
be.
like, that's it.
It doesn't have to be.
94 minutes. That's all he gets.
You know, one thing I just want to mention and celebrate. We're recording this on the day that the Supreme Judicial Court
Yes.
ruled that LGBTQ people cannot be discriminated against in the workplace,
Yes.
which is, I think,
Fantastic.
worthy.
Yeah. And it's we were talking.
Sad that it's 2020
Yeah.
and that's
Well, this was the thing I was just about to say is we were discussing it at dinner with Space Unicorn and Ted, and Space Unicorn looked over at us and was like, they had that already, didn't they?
Yeah.
And we were like, no. And she was like, that's bull baloney.
Yeah.
You know, we've been doing a lot of education around, you know, African Americans and the systemic incarceration, you know, systemic inequalities and racism. And I think we need to move on to, you know, I think they're so used to the idea that we have gay friends, and it's just, you know, they
Yeah.
have, you know,
Yeah.
they don't even think about it at all, and they don't even understand that there are people out there who.
Yeah, and next week on episode 88, we're going to have two really interesting people on. I'm really excited to talk to
Yep.
a sociologist. So we're going to do a pride-focused episode
Yes.
and talk about, I think, LGBTQ issues and
Yeah.
ideas. And so we're going to have on a sociologist. I don't have clearance yet to say their name, so I'm
Yeah,
not
that's
going to
fine.
yet. And then we're going to have a Western Massachusetts drag performer on.
Yep.
Who's very popular in this
Yep.
area. So
Yeah. Yeah. They actually put on a lot of the drag shows around the area.
yeah, so we're super excited. I think that's going to be a really great conversation. So that'll be next week. Yeah, so that's all I wanted to mention. Just I think I was really, this has been such a shit year.
Yeah.
You know,
That's definitely a bright spot.
for news.
Remember back in 1990
Mm-hmm.
when you couldn't wait for the year 2000 to come
Oh my god.
Because
my
that-
God.
was going to be the future
Oh my
and
God.
all the social ills would have ironed themselves out and everyone would have their jetpack and
Hoverboards.
everything would be great. But
Yeah.
if you look at year 2000 to 2020, it's just been one fucking shit show after another.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we got a fucking gigantic, important election coming up. This could be the fucking worst year ever that I've lived through if things don't go the way I want them to in November.
Right.
Let's see. A couple things we want to just recommend that we're watching real quick. So our new show that we're working our way through is a show called Pose. We're watching it on Netflix.
It originally was on FX.
But it's on the FX network, and it is about. It takes place in the 1980s, and it's about
It's the 80s, like what Vogue was based on, Madonna's Vogue.
Yeah.
So it's the black trans, but the trans community basically, and the gay population in
Yeah.
New York City, and it's
yeah,
a very very realistic depiction of that era.
yeah, and I believe they're mostly trans actors.
Yes, there's
and
many trans actors.
It's a really good show, though. I'm like totally engrossed in it now. I'm
Mm-hmm.
really happy I started watching it. So that's Pose, and then we watched a couple of movies
With the kids.
with our kids, trying to expose them to some
awareness.
So that was Just Mercy. We watched that last night.
That was good.
That
It
was really
excellent.
good.
Yeah.
And Hidden Figures we watched a
Yeah.
couple weeks back. Did we mention that already?
I don't know.
I don't think we
but
did.
That was excellent also for a couple
Yeah.
of different reasons.
Yeah. And then I just also want to plug this podcast I'm super into, which is a chapter-by-chapter review of Stephen King's The Stand. It's called The Circle Opens. And I wrote to that host of that podcast asking her if she would come on and talk to us.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to...
Did she write back?
She did write back, yeah.
And
she said she's really busy. She'll listen to our podcast and she'll
make
think
a
about it.
determination. Yeah.
So...
Cool.
So
very cool. I'm excited. I got a couple. We got a bunch.
We got a bunch of really
some stuff lined up. We're actually coming up with a production schedule. Josh, you'd be so proud of us.
I need an intern.
We do. We need an intern
that we can get coffee for us.
That could be Ted's summer project. He could be our intern.
Maybe. Although I'm at the point where I feel like we need one.
Ted could be it. He's very, very good. I tell him to call people on the phone, and he does.
All right. Anything? I know you said you don't have room for much else, Mr. Stewart. Anything else that you're watching, listening to, you want to recommend to our listeners?
Well, one thing I can say is I've actually been reading the novel by Stephen Markley, and it's entitled Ohio. Mm-hmm. It's a really great novel. I'm only in the first 100 pages, but it's fantastic. I also I don't know if it's how new it is, or how behind I am, but I recently on Netflix watched the O.J. Simpson trial miniseries thing.
Yeah, I watched that. That was amazing.
Yeah.
Did I watch it?
Yeah.
Or did I fall asleep through it?
I think so.
John Travolta as Shapiro.
I did not see that.
Yeah, it was actually really good.
Yeah, I tend to fall asleep during stuff like that.
Yeah.
We've determined that is something that Sawtooth should pursue on his own, because I just don't have the stamina for long series documentary type.
You're doing fine,
series.
Stomping Jen. You're doing fine.
Yeah.
All right.
I started reading a book.
What book?
I thank you for asking.
Oh, sorry. I thought you would have just chimed right in. Go on.
No, that's okay. I didn't get very far, though. I think I'm like 20 pages.
Oh, yeah.
It's called Burglary. It's about the...
Is it about the Hamburglar?
J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI.
J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI.
Oh, that actually sounds interesting.
Yeah. Well, if I get more in depth into it, I haven't touched it in about a couple days, but...
All right, so you recommend Burglary. Who wrote it?
I don't know the answer to that question.
All right, that's okay.
Yeah. Also, we recommend paddleboarding, which is our new thing we just started this weekend.
We did some paddleboarding. That's fun.
Yeah. Ted blackmailed me into standing on the paddleboard for 30 seconds. He took my paddle away.
Where are you guys doing paddleboarding?
We went out on Lake Metacomet here in Belchertown.
Yep, Lake Metacomet in Belchertown. I wasn't that impressed with it as a lake.
I mean, it was a lake. What else do you need?
It was shallow and kind of like gross on the bottom.
Okay. You source the next lake that we go to. It's fine.
Here's my sonic review of Lake Metacomet. Ready?
Yes. All right. Thank you, Mr. Joshua Michael Stewart.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Always a pleasure.
So,
are you going to play the Shivering Jim song on the way out?
Should I play the Shivering Jim song on the way out?
Totally up to you, but I think Josh wants to go.
Yeah, we're going to let him go.
Hang out with his cats.
I want to do something different.
I don't know where it is.
You lost it?
Yeah, I lost it. It's okay.
That did sound like Jim.
It sounded like the actual
It was the
Shivering
actual Jim.
But I don't know what happened to this song. I have something in there with Shivering Jim's voice for some reason.
All right, people, Josh, we love you.
All right, we can't
people,
say this
we
enough.
love you.
Guys.
So listen, everybody, check out Joshua Michael Stewart's stuff. He can be found on the web at joshuamichaelstewart.com. The link is going to be in the show notes. The link to his SoundCloud will be in the show notes. Check him out. He is an amazing man.
We did not
I
rehearse
am amazing.
I learned a shit ton about some
Poetry.
creative process stuff.
And music theory.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on and just chatting with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
All
thank
right.
you.
We love you. And to all of our listeners,
Bye now.
we love you. And we say to you,
Bye now.
bye now.
Bye now.
Good evening, my fellow Americans. America knows that this world of ours, ever growing smaller, must avoid becoming a community of dreadful fear and hate. Those who have freedom will understand also its heavy responsibility. That all who are insensitive to the needs of others will learn charity, and that the sources, scourges of poverty, disease, and ignorance will be made disappear from the earth. And that in the goodness of time, all peoples will come to live together in a peace guaranteed